There are a couple of really awesome sessions, and I can share a link. I think there's a link to like the agenda so you can see what's going on. If there's anything of interest and you're not attending, please reach out and let me know because the cool thing about that conference is for folks who may have attended last year, they do a shared notes document for every single session. And so as an attendee, I can like pull out, what happened in that meeting and share that information if folks are interested. So just wanted to highlight that.
Hey, thank you.
Yes. And Mala, thank you for bringing that up. Unfortunately, there isn't a live stream for any portion of the conference this year. Historically, they've been able to live stream the events that happened in the ballroom, and due to budgets and things, they couldn't do that this year. So that is a bummer.
Okay, let's move on. Any other important announcements before we move on? If not, Mark, I want to introduce Mark Green. Mark is the CIO. Is that correct, Mark? At Vail School District. Is that your correct
Yep,
title?
yeah, pretty close. CTO, I've been called worse.
CTO. Well, I want to turn it over to Mark and excuse me. And it's really great. Actually, his wife has been attending our meetings pretty regularly. And after our discussion last week, she said, my husband has been working with technology and education and has a good perspective on what's going on and thinks you should contact him. And I did and had a great conversation. And I think he's got a really good view, not just what's happening with his school district, but what are some of the challenges and issues about technology and education, and of course AI and lots of stuff going on. So, Mark, I'm going to turn it over to you. If you need to share, I will. You're just welcome to go ahead and share. So, thank you for being here. Oh, just a couple of quick things. So, we're going to hear from his wife, also Jessica, in just a little while about the ISP that they started, and then also for Nan to chime in with her perspective. Obviously, she has a broad perspective of what's happening with technology and education. So with that, Mark, you're on.
Great, great. Thank you, Steve. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me after that wonderful introduction and just seeing all the great people that are on this call. Now I feel like there's a lot of pressure, and so hopefully this is meets the needs, and I hope this can be conversational in nature. So please chime in if you have questions during this. So happy to see Nan here. And when Steve and I were talking, I was excited to hear that Nan would be here. Not only do I consider her a friend, but just a great mentor. And when I got involved in AZT many years ago, Nan was just so great at leading. She's mentored so many people. So just thank you, Nan, for all of that. And you've done so much for the state. It's much appreciated. So my name is Mark Breen. As Steve said, I'm the CTO for the Vail School District. We're in Tucson, Arizona. I'll tell you a little bit more about our district in a second. I've been in education for a little over 20 years. Started as a music teacher. Actually, Jessica and I are both musicians. We met at ASU in a music class there, and so music teacher kind of turned technology. Was always doing a lot of stuff with tech and recording arts and music technology, and sort of just went down that path. And did different technology roles in the school district, and then somehow landed here. So fake it till you make it, I guess, right? But I really enjoy leading the district, and in a lot of ways, there's some of those musician pieces, sort of being the conductor for the technology department, has really played into that role. So our district is in East Tucson, the Vail area, and we have 23 schools, just a little over 15,000 students and around 2,400 staff. We are a public K-12. We're definitely in a different environment where, for better or worse, school choice is really demanded that we stay more competitive. So that definitely has us kind of using different strategies to make sure we're offering that choice for our families. We keep about 90% of our families that are in our district or in our schools, about 10% choose other options, whether charter, ESA, or a public at a different in a different school district, and then we have about 10% coming in open enrollment. So that's definitely something we're always keeping an eye on as well. And yeah, our department. There we go. Back up one slide. This is sort of what we're going to talk about today. And I'll spend a little more time on certain areas over others, but definitely heard some interest in what is happening with AI in schools. That's something we're definitely exploring very thoughtfully and very carefully. We'll talk about connectivity and devices and touch on E-rate and ed tech, and I'll probably lean on you, Nana, a little bit for that. And then also just cybersecurity and how that has played into our roles in our districts, especially over the last several years. Our department, we're a very values based organization, so we have lots of values documents within our district with district wide and then across our department. So our department serves our district obviously, and our we serve our community by delivering high quality service and technology tools that drive innovation. Our team is about 40 people on our technology team. We're very lucky in that our model is a little different. It's not very centralized IT per se, where we have all the IT folks at the district office, and then when there's a fire, we farm them out to schools. Our model has always been having a technology coordinator at every single school. That's been very great to just have somebody at that site who is there and be able to respond to the staff very quickly. So we're very blessed in that way. There's also challenges. I have to share that leadership with the principal. So sometimes there's a little push and pull there, but overall we're able to support our district pretty effectively that way. And another thing that maybe differentiates that our department is mostly made up of former teachers. So myself and other folks on our leadership team of the technology and almost all of our technology coordinators have come from the classroom. And so that has its challenges as well, but also has really helped us be effective in understanding what teachers need because we've been there and we've done that and we know what it's like to be kind of like tap dancing in front of the classroom when the technology doesn't work. And it's so important in what we do. And so our department is really made up of the IT side of the house, the ed tech side of the house, and then our student data and reporting is a part of our department. And that is obviously very important for all of the funding we receive. So sometimes I kind of like half jokingly like to tell people we're the most important department in the district, you know, keeping the lights on in terms of the internet and instructional tools. And then, of course, all the money that comes in from the accuracy of that state reporting. We have a pretty good team there. We also run a consortium with that student data team, and we have IGAs with about 85 other districts and charters that use our team to help them with accurate student data reporting, so they can get every dollar that they deserve from ADE. Let's start with connectivity and devices. And within this, I want to talk a little bit about EduRoam, which I'm very excited about. I know Michelle's on this call. She knows how excited I'm about EduRoam. And then my wife Jessica said, "Don't make this whole thing about EduRoam. I know you're excited about it, but we'll talk a little bit about that as well." So connectivity is obviously very important, and devices things have it's a little different than when I first entered education, where I was telling Steve, you know, at this time I was a band director, but you know, I had a telephone in my room and I had a desktop computer that I didn't really need. But they said, "Here's you have email, and you might get like 3 emails a day, so make sure you check that." I wish I had 3 emails a day now, as many of you probably do. But technology has changed just in terms of what how we support the schools, where it was kind of a this nice to have thing on the side or something we were sort of experimenting with to now very much a utility, and keeping all that up and running is you know, really important. And obviously that's one of the reasons cybersecurity is so important. So that is one change I've seen over the 20 plus years I've been in education. So our landscape in Vail is over those 23 schools and a couple other district facility transportation sites. We have um, over 800 access points. We recently refreshed that through an E-rate project and the cabling with that. Um, Tons of devices on our network every week, tons of data passing over that. We have two internet connections coming into our district. One is over the Sun Corridor network, and the other ISP is Cox. We have two 10 gig connections set up to kind of be high availability failover. And so we have that full 20 gig capacity, but then we can fail over to either network if we need to. So in terms of devices, we are one-to-one third grade through 12th grade. And a few of our older elementary kids at some of the schools will take them home, but for the most part, elementaries do not take them home. Middle school and high school will take them home. And then in K2, we have different devices, just not one-to-one. We have some tablets and some Chromebooks, more at like the cart and centered level. And those are all Chromebooks. So that's about probably 15,000 devices throughout the network and the district that are student devices. Um, and all of our staff have devices. Almost all of our staff have devices, and so managing that is tricky. We've been, really working to get asset management systems and different kind of systems in place to track all those things. And a big effort we've been focusing on the last several years is like a sustainability and refresh cycle for both the student and staff devices. That way, we want to make sure we're not waiting till everything sort of is dead before we replace it, and then people are, scrambling and or having a bad experience. And so we've been putting those refresh cycles in place and working really closely with our finance director to say how can we build this into our budget so that it's sustainable and we can refresh those things. And then of course we have server infrastructure side. We have some stuff at a data center here in Tucson running any of our sort of on-prem services, and then obviously a lot of cloud infrastructure as well. So I want to talk just a little bit about eduroam. So imagine this scenario where a student can travel from one campus to another campus, or a staff member, and when they arrive at that campus, they can just open up their laptop and everything connects seamlessly and securely. So that's basically what eduroam does for education institutions. So eduroam is a service that's offered through our local state research and education network in Arizona. That's Sun Corridor. I believe Derek was on doing a presentation on with this group. Is that right, Steve?
Yeah, he
At
used to
one
be,
point?
we used to see him more often, but he
Yeah.
did do a presentation
Yeah,
probably a
so
year ago now.
Derek Masseth runs Sun Corridor Network. He actually lives here in Tucson as well. But the eduroam comes through the local REN of the state, so it's a part of the bigger Internet 2 network, and it was really designed for universities who had traveling faculty going from university to university, and they built eduroam to have that seamless connectivity for those folks. And it's actually really big in Europe. If you go to Europe, almost anywhere you go, you're connecting to eduroam, coffee shops, libraries, public places, things like that. And so it's really starting to take a lot more traction in the US, more specifically recently in K-12. And so for example, in Nebraska, they have it probably like 80-90% of K-12s across the state. They did a big effort to push that. And so they really have that sort of eduroam dream that I just described a minute ago, where those students are traveling from school to school, maybe for a sports trip or whatever, and they're able to connect. So we recently connected to eduroam and actually made it our primary, our only SSID, so that people didn't have to think about it when they went to community college or university, or hopefully, as I keep banging the drum on EduRoam in Arizona, other K-12s and libraries and things like that. And in fact, working with Michelle and her team to see if we can get EduRoam in some of the Pima County public locations. So um, here's kind of where, a map of across the country. You can see it's really everywhere. And then this is sort of what it's looking like in Arizona right now in terms of, and this is actually just Tucson specifically. So in Arizona, it's at all the universities and all the community colleges, and I believe we're the first K-12. So we're really trying to push that EduRoam connectivity for our students and staff so that it's one of those things that the more it grows, the more useful it is for everybody. And this is just kind of how it works. The great thing about it is it actually you authenticate through your home organization, your home institution. So it goes back through and authenticates through your organization's directory, whatever you're authenticating to Active Directory or Google or whatever. So that's sort of how that works, and that's how it can be controlled and stay secure as people move through organizations, that they're still just kind of linked to their home institution there. Before I jump into we could save questions for the end, but is there any questions on just the connectivity piece and EduRoam? And I haven't been paying attention to the chat, so if there's anything that I'm missing, please let me know. Okay, great. I'm sure there's people on this call that know a lot more about E-rate than I do, but we'll just briefly touch on this. If you're not aware of E-rate, it's a federally funded program to help school districts with connectivity. And so it's based on your free and reduced lunch ratio. So the higher free and reduced rate that you have, the more dollars you're going to get from the E-rate program. And so our free and reduced is 60/40, so it's not that high. But if you're spending $1 million, I would love to only have to spend 400,000 of that. So it's definitely worth it, I think, no matter what your ratio is. And you can imagine for a really high, like a 90/10 uh, school district, that's a lot of money, and a lot of dollars to support connectivity. So what that pays for is connectivity to your internet service provider. There's different categories, category one, category two. So it could help support and pay for your WAN connections between schools. So if that's a circuit through a local provider, like a Cox or a CenturyLink, it can help pay for that circuit. It can pay for dark fiber WAN between schools. That's something that we did several years ago, was connected our entire district over dark fiber, and we used some E-rate dollars and also a program that Mylan had at the time when he was with ADE, that the state contributed part of that too. So that's one part of it. And then the other part of it is uh, connectivity at the schools. So this is your routers and your switches, any physical connectivity, so Ethernet or fiber on the campus between building to building, or if you need new Ethernet for like what we just did with our new access points, we needed Cat 6A, so we redid all of that. So it covers all of that, and then you just have to apply, and I would highly recommend using a consultant. That's what we do. I know there's a lot of good consultants in the state. I know Mala had said earlier she's helping folks, so it can be a little bit of a cumbersome process. I think it's kind of like having a really good CPA that knows all the rules that are constantly changing. And so those consultants can really help. We use Nicely Done, and they've just been really great. I think it just pays for itself a million times over. So for us, based on our enrollment and everything, our 5-year budget is about $3 million. And so we just started a new cycle. So we're trying to kind of work to identify what we need, and spend spend that across like those 5 years. And so it's really helpful. I think every school district should be involved in it if they don't know about it or if they just need those supports. I think reaching out and getting help is definitely worth it, no matter what your free and reduced ratio is on that. So that sort of summarizes E-rate and how we use it in our district. Cybersecurity, let's talk about that because that's just been really huge part of my job the last several years and few folks on our team. We just have, really had to ramp up. The state has recently really jumped in to help with that. So we started doing some of the stuff before the state jumped in because we just felt like we couldn't really wait for some of those resources. And then we've also been working with the state to utilize all the resources they are offering through Arizona Department of Homeland Security. So a lot of people aren't aware of this. This is the scary slide that AI helped me make. But a lot of people aren't aware of this, but K-12 is actually one of the number one targets for cybersecurity incidents across the country. And the reason for that is they have a lot of personally identifiable information, a lot of student data um, within their system. So maybe their ERP system or their student information system. There's a lot of data, right? And then typically K-12s have, a lot of times they're not funded to have a huge staff to support, network and cybersecurity needs or those programs. So they're stretched pretty thin. And then also, we oftentimes have cybersecurity insurance. So that one of the things we have is an additional policy with the trust that's specifically for cybersecurity. So the bad guys are coming after K-12s because they know that sometimes we don't have those resources. We have a lot of data and they're hoping that we'll pay up. And of course, the business of running an insurance company is to keep people insured and so sometimes they want you to pay out. And so but that's why this has been so important for us over the last several years. And so we've really taken I gotta give a shout out to COVID for all the Swiss cheese analogies, but we've really taken the Swiss cheese approach to just layering a variety of tools on our network to protect our organization. And so the tools that we're using, we have some cybersecurity awareness training. We rolled out MFA to all of our staff. We're working on what that looks like for students. We have some network protection, and then of course endpoint protection on individual devices, antivirus, and some vulnerability detection on those devices. And then we also use a web application firewall. And then we've got a next gen firewall that was part of our E-rate purchase. And then as I kind of mentioned with Ed Jerome, we also redid our Wi-Fi infrastructure and we've moved our Wi-Fi to identity based I'm sorry, device based. And so it's actually instead of just using like a password to log on, our Wi-Fi is a lot more secure now that we are using Cisco's Identity Services Engine. And again, like I said, we're partnering with Arizona Department of Homeland Security. They're starting some of these tools we get free from them as part of some legislation that went through to support these tools for schools. So they've been really great in supporting this. And some of the tools we pay for separately, and some of that we had gotten kind of ahead of time while we were waiting for the state to do that.
Mark, I
Yeah.
believe it doesn't Homeland Security have a partnership with the Department of Education? Or
Yes. Yeah. And that's how they're partnering with the K-12s with that. And so that's been really, really helpful. And Ryan Murray's been really great with that department and just helping the schools and really being transparent and with that. So let's talk for a minute about ed tech. This is kind of the business of what we do is supporting teachers. Without teachers and students, we don't really have a job, right? And so we want to make sure that we're giving the teachers the tools that they need. Obviously, things have changed, over the last 5, 10, 15 years with instructional technology, and we saw that with COVID as well. And so um, for us, we have, a learning management system. This is how we sort of deliver a lot of online content, um, interactive content, content over devices. And we were really fortunate in that we had done an RFP we had a lot of different things going on in the kind of 2010s, 2015 era. And just all teachers are using, some teachers are using this tool, some teachers are using that tool. And if you're a parent and you had 3 or 4 kids and they were maybe at different schools, it was just kind of a mess in terms of like, where do I go for this? How do I find out about this? It was hard to provide consistent training across our district because we had, 3 or 4 different tools being used. And so we decided to go to an RFP to adopt a unified learning management system. And that was a long process. We went to make sure our teachers were the ones really choosing that. And it wasn't just something district office said, hey, we think this would really be handy for you guys. We really made it a teacher-led process. But we were really fortunate in that, or maybe lucky, I think is the better word. We did that probably around 2017, 2018. And so we felt a little more prepared when COVID happened and we had to go to remote learning. Some schools maybe hadn't adopted it as much as other schools, but nonetheless, we had something in place that really helped support that transition. That was, really the hardest time in education that we've all experienced, and so that helped. There's a lot of district provided apps and tools that we manage for teachers. We really try and make sure that they don't just go rogue and because there's so many tools, and that also came from COVID, just a lot of like freemium tools, free tools. Try and tell our teachers if it's free, you're the product, or even worse, our students. So um, we work hard to provide a suite of district apps um, and try and not block teachers from going and finding something. We want them to have some agency to get those things, but we have a vetting process for if they find a tool that they would like to use, and maybe that's not on our district approved app list. They can submit that. Sometimes it's, hey, we already have an app that does that exact same thing. Can you just use this instead? But data privacy has been really important in the last several years, making sure um, that students and teachers aren't just handing out their personally identifiable information. So we have data privacy policies in place for all of this, for all of our apps, and we also are involved in a consortium that Mesa School District runs, which helps school districts kind of build out data privacy agreements together. So we work with them on that. So and then just overall with ed tech, I think it's really important to say that the importance of networking and just being involved in organizations is really, really great. I mean, I think once I got involved in AST, that's where I just started to meet like all these great people across the states. Just like groups like this, you start to see what other people are doing, how we can all help each other. And for me, that's when I felt like I was really able to blossom and stretch my wings as a leader, is meeting people like Nan, meeting other people in different parts of the state, in Phoenix and Flagstaff and Tucson and all across the state, and seeing what we're doing and how we can help each other. And then, of course, more recently, um, COSIN and the partnership that they have with AST as well. And so I know Nan's going to talk more about that as well, but I just want to highlight how important it is, no matter what industry you're in, to be networking and partnering with other people, and just collaborate. I think we just get a lot more done and can be more successful that way. Let's talk a little bit about AI. We we're kind of hit with this, like what do we do with AI? It felt like it was, there was some murmurings about ChatGPT, and then all of a sudden it was like this big thing. Or like, well, how do we deal with this? And then obviously in education, the big thing was like, oh my gosh, all the kids are going to cheat. Um, we got to just block it, right? And so we wanted to be careful that we weren't rushing into something, that we were being thoughtful about how we were using it like, in terms of education and pedagogy, and also data privacy. What should we be doing? What should we be allowing? How are we communicating this with our community and our parents? It's a very powerful tool. We don't want to stick our head in the sand and act like it's not happening. We also realize we're preparing our students for that next phase in life, whatever that is. Um, and so we want to make sure that we weren't sticking our head in the sand, and we're actually going to teach AI and talk about it in thoughtful ways, and begin to use it with our students. And so um, this, like I had mentioned earlier, we're sort of a pretty values-based organization. And when AI was coming around, we also knew it wasn't going to be the last sort of next big thing, right? And so we decided that our community needed some values, and every community that's going to look different for them. But for our community, we brought a bunch of different stakeholders together: parents, community members, teachers, staff, all kinds of groups across our organization. Probably about this group was maybe about 75 people, and we met for 9 months, almost a year, to really hash out what are our values in terms of technology, and so that we have a lens to look through how we're going to approach things like AI. And when AI came around, this really prompted us to do this work. Because we didn't want to create just a policy for the AI, or because then it was just, well, we have a policy or a value statement around this one thing, and then the next thing comes. Now we got to do this. So said let's build something that addresses really all technology, and it really has a lot of fingerprints of people in our community on this, and reflects our community. And so one of those things that people are that's front of mind for a lot of people. And Common Sense Media is doing a lot of great a lot of great work with things like this, but just screen time and safe use of technology. And it's very intentional that the balanced technology use was our very first one that the community wanted there. And so we developed these common technology values, and that really helped us have a lens for looking at things like AI. And so with AI, we wanted to make sure that we weren't jumping into something, so we decided let's do an RFP to see what's out there. We did want to get a tool that was safe for education, um, sort of a walled garden tool that had safety measures in place in terms of self-harm and anything like filtering, things like that students might be typing into the AI, and then also that all of our data wasn't feeding some big AI engine. And so that was really important to us. So that's one part of it is finding a tool, and then another part is how do we implement this and roll it out, and also how do educators have to change some of their instruction. The assignment can't just be write a paper on this topic, and then we have to really change instruction to be more engaging in ways that can't just be quickly kind of regurgitated through putting something in AI and turning that in. The AI tool that we ended up choosing through our RFP process is Magic School. I know there's a couple other school AI tools out there. I know ChatGPT has like an educator version, and so we are working on rolling this out right now. Um, and so far, it's been really great. It has a lot of templates built out. Um, for teachers to do different things like lesson planning or communication. There's a lot of tools in there for students. Um, and the teacher really can control everything. They can basically say, I only want the kids to use these tools for this amount of time, and things like that. But we're starting to roll that out. We're mostly on the sort of teacher staff side of that implementation, and we have some pockets of teachers using that with students right now. We're seeing how that's going. And we'll probably be rolling that out more with the students more broadly as we go into the next school year. But we're really trying to get um, teachers and staff trained on this. We talk a lot about keeping the human in the loop and bias and what are all these things you need to be aware of. The AI can hallucinate and some of these things. So we're trying to make sure that we're teaching all of these elements alongside the AI instead of just like, hey, here's this tool, go have fun and see what happens. Um, but that's something that we're rolling out right now, and it's been pretty great. Under the hood of Magic School, it's just using all the major LLMs, uh, ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, a bunch of other stuff. So under the hood, it's really just a really great access to all the major LLMs. It's not just like their own kind of little thing. And then they have all those guardrails built into that. So that's one way we're working with AI right now and trying to be thoughtful about that and go slow, but also we understand anytime you do change, we're also moving at the pace of what the humans are comfortable with. And you can imagine across the gamut, we have teachers that are really excited about it and teachers that don't want to have anything to do with it and think we should block it. And so how do we kind of address that and also the adoption curve of the early adopters and the majority and the laggards and all that? Okay, I've been talking a lot. I think I need another sip of my coffee, but I just wanted to pause there before we jump into the WISP thing and Jessica and all that. And does anyone have any questions or some conversations around all that stuff I just went over?
So, Mark, before we move on, I know you talked about wanting to move to Jessica next. And Jessica, I know you're online, that we may decide to postpone your presentation to another meeting because I do want to we're getting close to running out of time here, and I want to make sure we have plenty of time for Nan. I hope that would be okay with you guys.
Sure thing, Steve. Yeah, I think there's a lot of great combos here, and we can address the community-centered ISP piece at another one for sure. But
I
before
think that
that,
would be
yeah, I do want to plug mentioning the Net Inclusion Conference that's going on. Our CEO is doing a session. We'll be there. Since our next meeting will be after that, our CEO is doing a session, a breakout session about from protocol to people, community-centered broadband innovation. I encourage you to check it out with Erica from Connect Humanity, and I believe Michelle is going to join that session as well. So I'll plug that, and then we can
great.
move back
So,
to Ed.
so I apologize, Jessica, and we will definitely want to make sure we have time for you at another time. So what I would like to do, I'm sure people have questions or comments for Mark, but I would like to move on to Nan, so make sure we give her some time. So Nan, I'm going to turn it over to you and would certainly be interested in Mark's doing really incredible stuff. And I'd be curious about your perspective about, so where are we with all this stuff and with other schools and here in Arizona and what's happening to the extent that you can give us a perspective on all that.
The magic wand, the magic ball there. I would say that Mark hit really all of the highlights and high pieces that our districts are struggling with. I mean, cybersecurity is so very important to us, and it's one of the cybersecurity and data privacy is one of the really top things that become the CIO's mission and kind of not coming across as that we're the no people. We really aren't the no people. We're the protect you people. We are the people that it's not only our students' data, but it's your data. We have all of your banking information. We have your social security numbers, and we want to keep you safe as well. And helping educators understand that as Mark mentioned with the freemium stuff, it's there. If it's free, it's not really free. There's some cost. Is it a data, what data are they using? What are they looking at? And then as far as the AI piece, I would say that everyone is in different stages of the AI implementation, anywhere from we're not there yet to we've adopted it, we've bought a tool, and we're ready to go. And I think a lot of it has to do with manpower. You know, K-12s just do not have the human capacity to do all the things that we need to do, like those cybers and the funding. Um, I had one of the future or potential running candidates for the state superintendent, pick my brain. And I said, if Arizona had some dedicated funding for technology that could either go to cybersecurity or device refresh or whatever, it's just technology earmarked, that would be it, like what a per pupil count, that would, and I don't even know what that number would be, but I know that that would be very beneficial for the technology budgets because we're having to rely on the money that is in the capital pool. And if you can't pass a bond or an override, then you don't have that capital capacity to do the things that you need to do. And we're required to do it based upon, like Mark said, the trust, cyber and school insurance, all of those things. So having the resources from Arizona Department of Homeland Security that we can rely on because we've pulled that money together. The districts have said, yes, we want to share this money, um, and that's allowed for them to have better buying capacity across the state. But and I would say those coast and resources, we do not have enough people in the CIO position using some of those codes and resources. There's a lot of toolkits that they could use to help them with the planning, the ROI, and figuring out what it is, the trusted learning environment, seal of approval. That's one of the things we're going to be working on this spring in our spring conference is helping people get started on their trusted learning environment. And that is really important to us because, if we can trust what's coming in and going out, then that will help protect everything. So that's me in a couple minutes there. But
So, so I'm going to open it to people having other questions and comments, but there are a couple of things I would love to hear, Mark, from you and Nan. I know I've talked with you guys, and we've been involved with talking about technology and education for 20 some odd years. And so for me, there were a number of issues. One was, which I mentioned, and you sort of have a solution, Mark, with what you're doing, is that in many cases, it's wild, wild west. There's so many applications that teachers go online and they pick this and they pick that, and they do this and they do that. And so that's a challenge in how we're dealing with that on a statewide basis is I know is a big challenge. Cybersecurity is another issue, but one of the things that we do know, or at least I think we know, unless I'm incorrect, and Nan, correct me if I'm wrong, we have a lot of rural school districts who are struggling with their CIO is also their football coach and English teacher and whatever. And so they don't have the kind of expertise that you heard from Mark. And so they're struggling with all of those things. Along with that is E-rate and whether or not they know about E-rate and how to apply for E-rate, which is an interesting challenge in and of itself. And so there's a lot of challenges, at least from my perspective, um, for technology and education in today's world. And now then AI is now on top of that and complicating all of that. So I'd be curious, Mark and Nan, if you want to comment about any of those things, again, particularly in our rural schools, what those issues and challenges might be.
I mean, I would just say probably one of the best resources someone in that position could have is something like AST, because that's that community of, hey, we're all in this together. Hey, how can I help you with cybersecurity? What issues are you having? Oh, here's the E-rate folks that help us. And so I think building that community, especially in a position where someone has to wear a lot of hats and just being really involved in going to conferences. I don't know if you would
yeah, absolutely.
think about
Well,
that.
and I would say our ASCII listserv is
Mm.
probably one of the best tools. And anytime I run into anybody that doesn't know about it, I'm like, oh, give me your email address. Let's get you on there because it is, like Mark said, it's the community, it's the connection. You can throw an idea out there or a question, and you know three or four people will say, "Oh, well, we've tried this or we've tried this," and they're more than willing to support and help each other. We're not the group that is going to hold all the information and keep everything to ourselves. We want to help each other.
So other questions or comments and thoughts that people might have? Oh, come on. I know people have questions. Okay. Well, I guess not.
Um,
I'm sorry. Nan, were you going to say something else?
no.
So I guess a couple of other things for me. So when we first got involved with looking at technology and education years ago, there was the promise that we would be able to do individualized self-paced learning. How are we doing with that? Is that a real thing? Is it not a real thing? Not what we're trying to do anymore? Any thoughts, Mark, Dan in particular, or others? Is that something that we're still shooting for? And how are we doing with that?
I mean, in our district, we have some families that choose that option. We actually have sort of an online thing, but it's sort of declining actually. It was a lot more popular in COVID and some people weren't comfortable coming back from COVID, so we had a lot of that. But I think there's a place for that, but I also think there's a really important need for those human connections. And so I think just plugging a kid into the computer and having them do all, like kind of like this personalized learning journey thing, they're all by themselves. I don't think that's like that the healthiest thing for at least all students in terms of um, their development and things like that. But yeah, I don't know. I guess the right answer to that, Steve, but we see a little bit of that, and we've seen that sort of decline, at least the offering that we have. But I know there's a lot of great things going on in some other groups too across the state. But I think it's just having options. I started my presentation talking about choice. It's pretty clear that our parents are voting with their feet, and they want to go where they think that that education is going to best fit their child. And so I think it's just about having options.
Okay. Nan, do you have anything else you want to add?
I would say in terms of like Mark said, I think that the online schools, for the most part, the districts that are offering that option, it is getting smaller, but it does serve a population of students that often they might have health issues. They might have the immune disorders where they can't really be around others that much. Um, Also, students that have other, maybe they're traveling a lot with kind of sports teams or something like that, and they need a more flexible learning option. Also, for those students who really maybe, yes, they do need social connections, but sometimes those middle school kids just need a different place to go instead of being around other middle school kids. Uh, but and we find that they might come and do it for middle school, and then they come back out and go back into high school or whatever. So it is nice to have that option, but I think it's not becoming the more primary option anymore.
Okay. Paul, you have a hand up?
Yes.
Yeah, I was really, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry, Steve.
Okay. Well, go ahead, Vaughn, while you're on. Just go ahead. And then
Okay.
Paul will come back to
I
you.
was, I was really interested in some of the slides that Mark was showing where they were really carving out learning theory and all that kind of stuff about learning as well as teaching. But I was also interested, I may have missed it because I'd step away for a couple of minutes. Mark, in the Vail district, how what's the outcome of the testing for all the basic academics, et cetera, state testing, all that stuff that goes on, the assessments? Uh, if you look back prior to COVID and through COVID and post COVID, along with all the technology that you guys have been working with, which has been fantastic. How have the testing results turned out down there?
Thanks, Vaughn. That's a great question. So I think I'm understanding it correctly. Like, how has that sort of changed pre, during, post COVID and those kinds of things?
Yeah, because we hear in the general news, not necessarily Vail been targeted, but we hear in the general news that test scores have gone down, achievements gone down, etc. So I just wondering how you see it going in your Vail district.
Yeah, we experienced the same thing. I mean, I think most districts are trending back up, and we are too. But in some areas, we're actually seeing that we haven't actually gotten back up to where we were pre-COVID. So even though that was a little while ago, there was also a little bit of a shift we've seen is um, a change in attendance. So once everyone sort of experienced online learning, and then they came back, and now there's sort of this mentality, well, we're going to Disneyland this week. And it's like, wait, school's in, it's not a break. And so there was a little bit of a shift in attendance that we're still fighting with. And I don't know if that's part of what we're seeing with some of the academics, but it's sort of both. We're trending back up to where we were, but one of the challenges is just attendance since COVID. And so I think there was this sort of mental shift of like, well, we have the LMS and we can do, just send me my stuff online and then I'll be back to school next week. So that's something we're dealing with. I don't know if you've seen that, Nan, but yeah, just definitely both seen that in the attendance and the actual academic data.
Actually. Well, and I was just thinking too, Mark, that you guys have also been very intentional about training for staff, that you've really sent a lot of people through the ISTE Certified Educator Program to help them understand how to use technology well and know the standards really deeply. I think that's been very beneficial for you guys in terms of having that technology vision and how it works in the classroom.
Yeah, thanks, Nan. I think that's important that it's how you're using it and it's not just substitution. Instead of a worksheet, we have the worksheet on a laptop. How are we using that with engagement and thinking of things like the SAMR model? I think the other challenge too has just been uh, staffing, finding really high quality teachers, and we're also training a lot of teachers that came from different industries, and so it's just a little different world. But I'll stop there because I see Paul has a question too.
Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, I think having worn a couple of different hats, I think procurement becomes a real issue. And when you're starting to assess all the different applications and platforms that are available. And I think something that would actually help tremendously, not just in K-12, but in colleges too, is we need some state level RFPs. So that way we go out, we get all the applications, we get all the pricing, we get the costing, and then we have a buffet to choose from, so to speak, as opposed to every individual school district and college doing their own initiatives. And what ends up happening is you spend a lot of time and resources going through that. I mean, you can spend 6 months easily on an RFP process, and that's if it's successful, right? So I think there's a need to go for some state level things because there's contracts and procurement are a big issue within IT, within any educational context. And I know that I've been trying to spend a few $100,000 in the last 6 months or so under some of the grants that I have. And the procurement is the hardest thing because a lot of the items that you may want to explore are actually not on any existing contracts, especially in the wireless or ISP space or applications. And so I think at the state level, if the state had some great contracts that actually, surveyed the items that all the schools are interested in and actually get some statewide RFPs going, it just gives you a vehicle. It gives you a way to easily look at something as opposed to say, oh yeah, I'm in a small school district in the southwest corner of Arizona. And then you've got the school districts in Phoenix and Tucson that have greater buying power and such. But now I've got to try and compete and I've got to try and get the best pricing. So I think procurement is an unknown area that is really felt by the IT leaders, and it becomes a real pain. So E-rate definitely helps with the networking side, and then there's the master contracts and such, and that's great. But there's a whole lot more that doesn't get covered, and that we need procurement vehicles for. But and then my last comment would be, Mark, I am definitely in the Eduroam camp. You'll see that in the chat. I've been an Eduroam advocate for a long time, and I actually led the charge here at Maricopa. And so all our Maricopa community colleges have Eduroam and have had it for several years now deployed. So keep up the great work. Let's hope we can bring more of your colleagues on board. And sorry, Jessica, I just had to throw in for Mark there too about Eduroam.
Thanks, Paul.
Well, and Mala put in there about the Mojave Consortium, but I agree with you, Paul. That is one thing I actually has looked at and have been trying to figure out how to do with ASTI, that maybe ASTI could be that uh, that purchasing consortium for the school districts. And uh, what I've found is that we'd have to find an agency that would be the sponsoring piece. But yeah, it is one of those situations that I've spent a lot of time thinking about, because I agree with you. If we had the whole state buying power like Texas does,
Yeah.
then we would be able to maximize not only the limited funds we have, but the resources we have too.
And if there's any organization who has IT staff who are grumbling about their workloads and the amount of people and things that they need to do, especially in a commercial area, let them experience what a K-12 was like for a week. Come back and go, oh yeah, no, we've got things good here. We got things good. Because in K-12, you then truly get to understand. I believe that because I've lived it. You get to understand what it means to have a list that is never ending and you're firefighting every single day. So anyway, big throw out there.
So we're about out of time, but Elena, I don't know if you want to just jump in and just share anything, any quick comments before we end for today.
No, it's interesting hearing all this. I'm kind of processing. I tried to include a bunch of resources in the chat for people who are interested. Um, yeah, I'll leave it there. I know we're out of time, but Nan, you're doing great work, absolutely great work. And I am wondering though, when you mentioned an agency, what about, I mean, Aaron, what about the Commerce Authority? Couldn't they get involved, or the Arizona Tech Council, which is I don't know if it's even quasi-governmental. Henry, you might know. Um, I'm not sure now. Nan's shaking her head.
Yeah, I
No.
mean, the tech council would work, but it would have to be
Yeah.
like an agency. It'd have to be like we'd have to get like a school district to say, "Hey, we will be the agency to to be the back end of it," or
Oh,
like a
okay.
state agency too as well. So it'd have to be like a real government agency. But that is something I've been exploring in different avenues. Okay, and I'm asking questions. So what if we do blah blah blah, or what if we do blah blah blah? So nothing is real. It's going to be an arduous task if that's something we decide to take on.
Yeah. Yeah. And Mark, the only thing I was gonna mention to you is that, and I did put our lessons in the chat, but feel free to share out any of that stuff to your teachers and your educators. We've had administrators that where it's been a very top down, which we find to be a much better plan. So if we could get, if there's a champion in the district that is at the administrator level, the superintendent would be great. We'd be happy to, to come and talk, share resources, provide professional development, whatever you might need.
No, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. And we've definitely utilized some of the common sense media resources before, and we're also actively working on kind of reigniting our digital citizenship program and some of those things. So probably will be reaching out. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Mark and Nan. Thank you for being here. Don't get to see you much these days, Nan, but Nan was also one of the early founders of AZBSN when COVID was first ramping up. And so I really appreciate that. And Jessica, I apologize that we'll have to postpone you for another meeting because we want to make sure we give you time because I think you have a unique approach to looking at providing broadband. So we definitely want to hear from you, perhaps as early as next week. Well, probably not next week. I don't know if you're going to be at the conference or not. Sounds like your people are.
Yep, my people will be, and yep, so just whenever you want to put me back on, Steve, I'll be ready. I think community-centered internet fits this organization well, and I've gotten to talk one-on-one with lots of people in here, and so I'm excited to share my perspective, and hopefully Mark can tag team the very beginning of that at least, since we're largely a team on that front.
So, sounds like a plan. Any final words anybody has? If you want to stay on and chat for a while, I'm going to stop recording. And as you know, we do our kibitzing for anybody who chooses to hang in there. And if not, we're kind of done for today.